Hi, this is Brian. Welcome to Philosopher's Notes TV. Today we're going to do another great book, The Spontaneous Fulfillment of Desire by Deepak Chopra. As always, great book, 6-page PDF Philosopher's Note with a bunch of my favorite big ideas. Deepak rocks. He's one of my favorite teachers and authors. We've done 2 notes on him, this book and the 7 Spiritual Laws of Success, both of which have been transformative. I could have done a bunch more, but we just have those 2. The Spontaneous Fulfillment of Desire. It's all about, as Deepak says, helping us become the human being, the person that the universe intended us to become, which is really the theme of all of Deepak's books, in challenging us to and encouraging us to stretch our ideas of what's possible and to realize that, as he says, the universe has much bigger plans for us than we could ever dream of having for ourselves. And the book and the note is all about some of the big ideas to help us do that. So, big idea here is live from the level of the soul. And Deepak describes that as living from that place that's connected to the rhythms that align our universe, that keep all the planets in line, that beat our hearts and do all the things we could never imagine doing consciously. We want to live from that place consistently. He says that's living from the level of our soul, that's connected to the deepest rhythms of our universe. Now, when we do that, we tend to have a lot more spaciousness. Our fears dissolve, our longing and our clinging and our hatred and our anxiety, those things dissolve from this more spacious perspective. The planets aren't worried about staying in line, right? There's just this sense of integrity, and obviously they're not thinking too much, but there's this sense of rightness to the universe that Deepak encourages us to get in touch with. And as we do that, our fear tends to dissolve along with our anxiety, our clinging, etc. Living from the level of our soul. Super big idea. We talk about fear here a lot. I've got some awesome quotes from Emerson and Hafez and Paulo Coelho and Wallace Wattles. Frank Herbert from Dune's got an awesome thought on fear. We're not going to be able to go into all those here, any of those really here, but check out the note for more quotes on fear. Essentially, all the great teachers say that if there's one major obstacle to us living our most extraordinary, authentic life, it's fear. So we want to learn how to push through our fears, and one way is to live from the level of our soul. One way to do that is to tap into our power of intention. So the last episode we talked about the power of intention, Wayne Dyer's great book, and there are a lot of parallels in Deepak's teachings and Wayne Dyer's teachings, and particularly in this idea with the power of intention. Same thing. The power of intention is aligning with that non-local mind, the non-local intention versus the local mind, which is our own unique consciousness, right? We want to tap into that non-local, the spacious, universal sense of rhythm, and then create our own personalized intention and our own desires, which all the great teachers say our deepest desires are the universe speaking through us. Emerson says that nature is not capricious. Nature doesn't play games. And we wouldn't have a desire if we didn't have the ability to manifest that desire. And that our deepest desires, Deepak quotes the Upanishads. The Upanishads basically say that your deepest desires are going to direct your intention, which are going to direct your will, which are going to direct your deeds, which create your destiny. We talk about that in the note. But we want to get clear on what we really want in our lives. Deepak has a bunch of awesome questions in this book and in his 7 Spiritual Laws of Success and all of his books to really stretch the sense of what's possible and to get clear on what we really want in our lives. So, question here is, what do you really want in your life? I mention this often, but I'm a huge fan of journaling and taking the time to get clear on what we really want, who we are, what our unique gifts are, how we can most fully give ourselves to the world. He's got some awesome questions here. I just journaled this morning on the question, if you knew you could have anything and do anything in the world, what would you do and what would you have? If you knew you could have anything and you can do anything, what would you do and what would you have? It's a really cool question. You want to press pause and think about that one. If you can do anything and have anything, what would you do and what would you have? And if you have a hard time answering that question, that's awesome. That just means it's kind of like going to the gym, right, or training to run a marathon. If you haven't run in a long time, it's hard to actually run the first block. We just need to practice journaling and getting more and more clarity on what we actually want our lives to look like. But it's an awesome practice, and then of course marry it with actions in line with that and consistently moving toward that ideal. But taking the time to understand what our ideals are is huge. Another great question is, if you had all the time and all the money in the world, what would you do? All the time and all the money in the world, what would you do? Now, after you give everyone in your family all kinds of money, and after you travel here and there, then what would you do? Right? What would you create? Who would you be? How would you show up in the world? That's really tapping into the deepest desires. And the final big idea here, Deepak asks, we'll jump to it, then come back a little bit more. He says, why are you here? And as we live from the level of our soul, he says, you will begin to see your life as an opportunity to share the special gift you alone can bestow upon the world. Again, all these great teachers talk about the fact that we have a unique blend of strengths and experiences that we're here to give to the world. And we're gonna feel best when we're giving them in service to the world. So I like to ask myself the question, what is it that I and only I can do? A lot of people can do a lot of different things, but I firmly believe that I and you and everyone has a genius. We are all geniuses. We all have a unique constellation of gifts and experiences that alchemize into a specific way that we can show up in the world. And I'm committed to discovering that and living that, and it's an organic process. It's not I figured it out, it's done. Day by day by day by day, I'm journaling and reflecting on, okay, that's really great, but what about this? And reminding myself of things that really inspire me, taking step toward those things and realizing, well, not quite that, more like this. And having the fluidity to develop the sense of what I'm here to do and how I can give myself to the world. It's an awesome practice. Highly recommend it. Hope that you are engaging in it more and more and more as you go through these notes and these episodes. So Deepak also ties intention and service together, just like Wayne Dyer did, just like Martin Seligman does in Authentic Happiness, The Science of Happiness, knowing our strengths, using them often in service to the world. It's all about knowing who we are, what we most love to do, what we're best at, what we're most gifted at, and then consistently giving that to the world. Powerful stuff. Deepak also talks about hindsight and great truths, and that when we're living from the level of the soul, a really spacious, big mind, big heart perspective, we don't need to wait to appreciate the lessons that life gives us. Hindsight isn't necessary. We can appreciate the great truths of our lives immediately. This is a really big idea. I mentioned the fact that Tony Robbins says in 10 years you're going to laugh at whatever's really stressing you out right now, so why wait? Why not enjoy your life now? You're going to have hindsight and appreciate it more. Why wait? And when we're living from the level of the soul, we appreciate that. And we can appreciate every moment of our lives. We're not waiting to get somewhere. We can celebrate even the challenging times. Ralph Waldo Emerson has a great way to describe it. He says that it's kind of like a ship. Our lives are kind of like ships. They start in New York, let's say, and they go to London. Now, from a broad enough perspective, it looks like a straight line. Boom, New York to London. But if you look at it in any given moment, it's zigging and it's zagging and it's zigging and it's zagging. When you're in that smaller, narrower perspective, all you see is the zigs and zags. But when you pull back, you see there was a consistent through line to it. And that's how our lives work. A lot of great teachers talk about that. And when we have perspective, we can immediately appreciate the zigs and the zags and realize that all of it serves our highest unfolding. This leads us to another big idea called conspiracy theories. Deepak says that why don't we imagine that the universe is conspiring for our good? Be an inverse paranoid, as Jack Canfield says, and imagine that there's this big conspiracy theory. Everything is happening to us for our own good. That's an awesome, empowering way to see the world, and our challenges. Highly recommend it. Deepak also talks about the fact that the most enlightened people among us have integrated their light and their darkness. We talk about this in the Dark Side of the Light Chasers, shadow concept. When we've integrated our weaknesses, we no longer get so triggered by other people's faults and weaknesses. We can embrace them because we've embraced ourselves. So there you go. That is a really quick look at some of my favorite big ideas from this great book. Hope you dug it, and I look forward to sharing more with you soon. All right, have an awesome day. More soon. See you.